Hey friends, one music that I found recently that's executed very well, especially with symbolism, is Daylight by David Kushner. So let's check it out. So right off the bat, I like these establishing shots of him chopping wood in the forest. It's always good to just like set up that location right off the bat. But then we cut away to it. We cut to the shot of him in, what kind of looks more like a church or something, and it fits good with the line, but I won't go there. And so it kind of fits good with that line of I won't go there. And so then he has, I think it's supposed to be more like his son, where it's like, oh, kind of the you and I drink the poison from the same vine, where it's like, oh, him and his son both have the same sort of problems, but he's going to try and help, his son overcome those. And then one effect that I found really interesting here is they have like kind of like blurred face effect where they have on people, which I think, I don't know why they did it, but I think it could be kind of symbolic of like, oh, where it's like, people that used to be friends, but now you can't recognize them anymore. Like, oh, they're now judgmental of you because of, what you've done or whatever, where they're like, oh, you can't be around here. Oh, I thought you were my friend. Now I can't recognize your face anymore. It's all blurred out. I feel like that could be cool, especially where they have later the throwing rocks at David Kushner, and then they have like the blurred out faces where it's like, oh, I can't recognize these people. Used to be my friends, but now they've, found something out and they're against me. And then I really like this VFX shot where you have like this big like black liquid with like the viscosity where it's kind of like a gel or whatever for the darkness in the distance, but I know I can't resist it. And then they have like this great like wide shot of him like reaching out towards it and like the close up of it coming towards him. I feel like that's just a great like representation of it instead of it being like a dark room and he's like reaching to the darkness. It's like a tangible thing for like, the forces of darkness or whatever, which I feel like is really good representation of that. And I feel like this one, you could also say it's a very good emotional music video because then we hit like the chorus. He just really hitting it hard with the oh, I love it and I hate it at the same time, which really brings into the theme of like the Romans 7:15 of I do what I don't want to do and I don't want to do what I do want to do, which, is kind of, it's a lot to think about, but it's basically like, oh, I love it and I hate it at the same time. Where it's like, I want to do it, but I don't want to do it because I know it's wrong, but I do it anyway, which I feel like, he's a Christian, so I feel like he's kind of bringing out some of those same things, which we see later, and some of the other things that he's bringing in. And I really like this like third location they have with the big room where they have like the overhead lights, which, is a reference to the Bible story of the woman caught in adultery, where, they throw the rocks through and Jesus says, oh, I'd be the one to throw the first stone, and I won't even do that, which I feel like is just a good representation of like, oh, everyone's throwing the stones at him. They're like, oh, trying to accuse him, trying to bring him down. Can you spare any mercy that you might find? And it just really like hits hard when you see like, oh, the bloody knuckles and then like dragging him in. Just really like brings the emotion in. And then there's these shots at around like 2 minutes where it's like him in this room with like the windows open in the rain, which I feel like should be used like a lot more because it's like a really cool shot and it just like really hits the emotion where he's just like out in the rain, like, singing his heart out, and it's just like a really good shot, which I feel like could be used more, but just really looks cool, and I feel like they could use that more. And I really like how they do like this lead up into the chorus where they show the guy who's on fire, which I think could represent like the Holy Spirit, where it's like, oh, the purifying fire, the tongues of fire from the Holy Spirit, and it like cuts to this nice close up of him where he's got like kind of the hesitating look on his face, like, oh, what should I do? And we cut to this nice shot of him in the church where we do like this great like steady cam push in on him, which is like a nice good long take to like stick with him for the emotion, and then we like stay through that, and then when we hit the chorus again, then we hit it with like him reaching out, grabbing the hand, and he's on fire, and it just like sells it so hard where I'm just like, oof, like it just hits because you're just like, yeah, that is a beautiful shot. And so then one thing that I really like is how they cut to like this forest shot where it's like a pretty tight close up on his face, but like as the song progresses, he gets like more and more into it where like at first he's just kind of stationary and he's kind of like moving a little bit, and like the last one he's just like super into it where it's just like facial expressions, everything, you're just like hitting it hard. And I really like how they have this build up where he's like doing the riff kind of going up, I think probably an octave maybe or something, but they like have the highest part of the song, and it's him reaching out, grabbing the fire person's hand, and then the fire goes onto him, the room catches on fire, and it's like this great big moment that hits with the whole song. I like how they didn't put that in the thumbnail either, because it like doesn't sell it too early where you're like, oh, there's like fire in this one, but it kind of like is just a great moment, and it could be like symbolic of like, oh, him like the Holy Spirit coming inside of him, and he's like changing the Holy Spirit's fires, purifying him, which I feel could be a good symbolic thing that, people might miss. So we end out of that big chorus and we cut back to where he's got like the bloody knuckles in the room where the people were throwing the rocks at him. And it kind of just like sells that like, oh, he's still broken, which kind of is like interesting where they had the fire, but now like doesn't really play into it yet where like the fire's changed him yet, which, is an interesting like analogy kind of. But then, we kind of just go like down to like these slow shots of him just sitting there. He's got like the blood on the lip or whatever. And I feel like it's just like a good ending because then the song kind of relaxes. They have that little like squeaky sound or whatever from like a swing or something. I feel like it's a good ending. I feel like the main thing that is really cool is like the coloring and the lighting on this song is like super good. And what was interesting is that the people who directed it, Landon Jern and Luke Shaw, were both the editor and the colorist on it. So I feel like that's really just like a good method to like have the people who like had the plan, who directed it and executed it, carry it through like to the end where they like edit it, style it and everything. I feel like that just makes sense and helps make it like more cohesive and like what the director had in mind. So if you like this music video or are looking for other ones that are similar to it, I'd recommend Spread the Ops by Lecrae, because that one has some good other like Christian imagery and representation in there that's pretty good. Or like Hope by NF, which kind of like is more referencing like his previous albums and things like that. I feel like even like the Deja Vu music video by Olivia Rodrigo is pretty good, where it's kind of just like a good like, little bit higher concept where it's like, oh, they have like the same dress on things. It kind of like has a good concept to it. So I'd definitely check those out. I'll put them in the description if you guys want to check those out. That's basically it for this video. Make sure to drop in the comments if you got a music video you want me to react to or break down some of the things that I like best about it. And make sure to like and subscribe. Stay tuned to what's happening here. I'll see you next week. Peace.